Can you hear me, Mr. Clark?
I can hear you.
That's a nice picture.
Thank you. Just so you know, I only see your name right now.
What you say?
I can only see your name currently.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how to put my picture up.
Want me to come in?
Huh?
I'll come in and help you.
Okay.
Do you have a picture that you want?
Yeah, but it's not letting me. Well, maybe I need to add. I'll add the image. Okay. Should have picked Dr. Jackson.
You need me to crop something for you?
And I got it.
Okay.
I got it now. I didn't see that.
Okay.
All
I'll
right.
see you
So
over soon
yeah, that's why I wanted to get in there. Okay. I'll let you know when I.
then. Tom, are you good? Ready to go?
Did you say something, Kevin?
Yep, just asking, are you good? Are you ready to go?
Yeah, I just here. I just hit share my screen and I saw what it looked like. It looked fine.
Okay, great.
Yep.
All set. Thank you, sir.
What the hell?
Tom, you're starting with the levy first or the budget? Let me see, what's the agenda? Oh, we starting with the tax levy first.
Right, tax levy and then the budget. Unless Tim doesn't show up, then we can start with the budget and wait for Tim.
Yep, let me show you. Attendees here. Trustee Tierney just here. Hello, Trustee Tierney. I'm trying to get forward. He never responded to this. Probably can open this up, you know.
Where's her email?
Look here.
I should go to her email.
Look.
What did you say? She gotta set up her email to get the village email. I'm gonna her email. What? Oh, go to. Oh, go to. Did you set this up for your
Huh. Why is it not here?
Two participants waiting there. Hey, trustee.
Hi, Kevin.
Good to see you. Hey, Tim.
Hey, Tim.
What? Oh, shoot. I'm showing up as the mayor.
Yeah, I'll fix it.
There I go. Showing up as myself. Who's the question mark?
Trustee Abraham, can you hear me? Can you hear me, Trustee Abraham?
I can hear you via the phone.
Are you on the phone?
Yeah, you up?
Okay, we're gonna have to utilize your phone.
Tom?
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
I was sitting here cussing in my computer and then I realized, hey, maybe you can hear me.
I renamed her, Mayor.
Is everybody ready? Wait, let me.
1 minute. Oh, no. You can go now. Yeah. What's up in there? Here she was.
Kevin, did you paint that on the wall behind you?
It was done by a professional.
Was that in the budget?
Okay. All right, good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
Can hear you.
Yes, you can?
Yep.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order for the Finance Committee meeting for tonight, December 3rd, 2020. The time is 7:10 p.m. I'd like to take a roll call at this time. I'm Trustee Judy Abraham, Finance Chairwoman.
John Tierney, trustee.
Tim Hicks, Finance Director.
Tom Hood, the budget officer.
Okay. At this time, wherever we're at, if we could stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of
States of
America.
America.
And the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
with liberty.
and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone, for doing that. And then if we can have a quick moment of silence. Okay. At this time, on the Finance Committee agenda, item number 2 is to discuss the fiscal year 20 tax levy. And at this time, I'll yield the floor to our Budget Officer, Tom Hood, as well as to our Finance Director, Timothy Hicks. Gentlemen?
I'll cover off on the tax levy for 2020. I'll share my screen. All right. So can you guys see the tax levy?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so what I wanted to highlight, which I have highlighted, the tax levy year over year is, we were very conservative. We used less than 1% increase, but we put in the actual amount for the police and fire pension. So those are amounts that come from the actuarial reports that indicates what our minimum requirement is, and what's called an ARC, annual required contribution, that we should make as a village toward these particular pensions. And if you look from year over year, it's a huge increase for the police pension, and a huge increase for fire pension. So those really are the bulk of the increase year over year. So when you look at the total aggregate subject to tax cap is $6.5 million. We separate out the rollover bond because we abate that amount. So even though we levy for it, we end up coming back and doing an abatement because we do actually, issue rollover bonds. So this year, the not to exceed amount is $1,050,000, and so the total tax levy for the fiscal year 20, which is collected in for the calendar year 20, which is collected in fiscal year 20, is $7,634,794. Are there any questions at this time?
Well, Director Hicks, I definitely like the fact that you did lay it out from 2015, or even went further back on that as well to 2012. So that was very nice that you did that to make it more explanatory. So yes, I don't have any questions. Trustee Tierney, do you?
No, I don't.
Okay, I'll stop sharing the screen and see are there any questions from any attendees? Oh, they're at the end.
We'll have questions at the end for the attendees.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Clerk, for clarifying that. Let's hold off on the questions and get through the presentation, and then we'll go from there, okay?
Okay.
Okay. Do you want to go ahead and continue? Because I don't have any questions. Trustee Tierney, no questions?
Nothing.
Yeah,
Okay.
we can move to the next item on the agenda.
All right, so we're good on this. Item number 3 on the agenda is to discuss the fiscal year 21 budget amendment.
Good evening, everyone. I am going to share my screen also. Just got to figure out how I can see it here. Huh. All right, well, let me try to open it again. So just to refresh everyone's memory, when we first did our 21 budget back in April, we had a lot of uncertainty due to the COVID crisis. And we said that we would be monitoring it and revisiting it at mid-year. Now, we've been doing more than mid-year. We're actually following this and reevaluating it every quarter. But at mid-year, it gives us a pretty good idea of where we're at and what has changed. And we can adjust our budget to reflect what we know now. And for whatever reason, this does not want to open up. All right, let's see if I can do it the old-fashioned way.
I'm gonna ask Tim to share his screen. If you are having technical difficulties, he should be able to.
You know what? Kevin just came in and it started working just by him being here.
Oh, okay.
Do you want me to go ahead? Let's try this one more time. Get back over to Zoom. Now I see it, right? That's it, all right? And hit double click. Okay. I had this all set up before the meeting and it went away for some reason. Don't quite know why, but so several things have happened in the last 6 months and some of them have been positive for the village. So we want to go back and adjust our budget to reflect those activities which have occurred. A lot of the activity that is very positive for us is in on the revenue side of the budget. And I'm assuming everyone can now see the proposed annual budget for fiscal year end 4/30/21. This is the first column is the actual budget. I have a column for the changes and what the revised budget will be. So I am just going to go down through here and highlight what's happening. So the first change you see there is grants funds received Illinois. We're going to get another $498,000. And that's coming from, it's coming through Cook County, but it's FEMA money that Cook County got, and we've had to apply for our share of it. We originally were given $486,000. Since the original application, we've also gotten another $12,000. So we're going to get $498,000 in COVID relief from Illinois. And we're also going to get another $68,000 that's coming from the feds through the CARES Act. So right there is $500,000 it's a nice addition. As we go down in the revenues, you can see the building permits, basically all the permits in the building department are going to be much higher than we budgeted. And this is the accumulation of about 8 years of work and finally breaking ground on the senior living center over here on 17th and Roosevelt. That building's fees have been paid. Their zoning fees have been taken in, electrical, plumbing, etc. That money has actually been collected and deposited already. So we are already ahead of where we were at. Or we're already way ahead of budget in those items. I've reflected them up to the current balance. I know that there's a couple other things in the works that might add even more to this, but I'm hesitant to add it. For those of you who've been with me for a while, I don't like to add money that we don't have in the bank yet. So this is money that we do have. I also went and looked at places where we've already collected and beat the budget. One of those places was in the compliance violations. And where is miscellaneous? Oh, I gotta hit this page over here. No, go back. Oh, here it is, right on top line. We also, in fire department miscellaneous revenues, and I don't know if anybody from the fire department's on here, but we had scheduled, it's got a fancy name, but I'm just going to explain it how I understand it. It's a filtration system. It's a place that something that circulates the air in the fire department. The old one has worn out. We needed to replace it. Fire chief had applied for a grant and we got reimbursed. Out of the $60,000, we got $54,895 back. So that was a nice little chunk of change that came in that we didn't expect. So on the revenue side for the village, we are at this point are going to get an extra million, a little over $1 million. It's $1,053,388 than what we were expecting 6 months ago. That is where most of the change is. We also went department by department and eliminated things that we know we're not going to be spending. A lot of the seminars and conferences, I'm just going to hit the highlight ones here because there's a lot of repeat things here. Seminars, conferences, local civic events, they're not going to happen. Or they haven't happened, and the chances of them happening now and by the year end are slim. The one thing that was added was census expense of $15,000, but that was also offset by we have a $15,000 grant coming in, so that's gonna wash. As we go down through the departments, I don't know why on my home computer I can go down like this, but on this one I can't. There's a lot of little things that were changed because we know that we're not going to spend the money, or we had to spend money in other places like professional services. We're going to have to spend some money for Paylocity that we weren't planning originally to do, but it will help us with our audit process. We also, in some cases, we moved some dollar amounts around because the police department knew that it was going to need to do $3,000 in work in one area, but they weren't going to travel, so they moved they took some of the money from the travel expense and applied it to where they really needed it. And in past, we've done these things, but as long as they stay within their overall budget, they can use the money that's been appropriated to them to do things that come up, because the budget process is really a guesstimate. There are all kinds of things that can happen anytime during the year that were totally unforeseen. We did have a big savings in the police department of $45,000 because this year they did not buy a car, and this is the associated costs with it. It's not the price of the car, it's associated costs with the car, which is, the decals, the radios, the lights, etc. Streets department, it's a bunch of little stuff. There was some office expenses that they had to pick up that we originally had cut it in the original budget, but some things just have to be bought to keep operating. So in a big scheme picture, our budget was originally at a positive 69. The operating budget was an original 69,000. That's increased to $1,203,950, and that is really helping us out on the after transfers money too, because we still have to transfer monies to other funds. And after transfers, we are now at a positive 200,609. The one thing I'll point out here is the amount of proceeds from the debt issuance that aren't going to interest and principal is decreased. That's because the size of this issuance is less than what we were actually projecting at the beginning of the year. After that, that's the big one. That's the general fund. If we go through, there's a few other ones in here that we can take a look at. I'll point out an error in my earlier publication. No changes in motor fuel. The next change, I believe, is in the Roosevelt TIF, where I discovered this 19,000 that was in the budget in program disbursement is also part of this 28,000 below. So I just removed it up there, and it was double counted. So I just removed it. The other thing that is out of the general fund that was brought up, it was brought up on the meetings earlier, and I didn't understand what they were asking, because I knew that all of our bond payments were covered by money in the trust or money through the bond proceeds. What I didn't realize is the handout did not link in the principal, the interest payment on the 2018 capital bond. So I put that in there just, for disclosure. It doesn't really change anything. The money was already amalgamated, and the other payment is coming out of the bond proceeds. Other than that sums up all the changes. Oh, I'm sorry. One more. We reduced the rental property income because the building's gone. We no longer collect rent from there. And that is it. Are there any questions? Okay.
Questions are being held at the end.
Are there any questions?
No, from the board.
From the
So,
board.
thank you, Mr. Hood. Very well detailed, highlighted, the packet that's been presented to us here. Very nicely, well done. Nice adjustments and good catches on everything. I don't have any other questions. I don't have any questions. It's very broken down, so very happy with it and the success. Trustee Tierney, do you have any questions after reviewing?
No, I don't. I've looked it over. I've had a copy of this for a while, so I've been looking it over. Looks good. Thank you, guys.
Okay. So the one thing that we really want to highlight is that when you look at the budget we're going from being slightly flat to $1.2 million in excess. So that's a huge swing. And I think that's really indicative of how we've managed to just be very prudent and very frugal when it comes to just managing the budget and looking at it on every kind of 90 days to see where we are. And it's a testament to the mayor as well in all of the grants that are coming in that's helping offset and a lot of the huge dollars that Sean showed in the beginning. Those were COVID dollars that we were in a position to obtain from the county, that came from the federal government, FEMA dollars, that Kenny put us in position to be able to capture. And all of this allows us to leverage our dollars and put them out for more projects. And so that's one of the things that has been a result of the last year and a half. And lastly, one of the things we always see and hear, we talk about a deficit. We don't budget for a deficit. The other financial sources and uses are items, especially transfers. Those, are transfers that are at our discretion. So, for debt issuance, obviously we'll make that one, but the IMRF one is one that now that we're flush with cash is one that we definitely could make if that is indeed the amount that we need to make. But other than that, I feel like we are in a great position to move forward.
Good. Yeah, I mean, very, very well said, Director Hicks. Very well done between the both of you and our budget officer, Mr. Hood. Definitely appreciate these packets and the information that you've put together. Very self-explanatory explanations, I should say, as far as between the revised budget as well as the fiscal year. So, and then just how you charted the timelines to show what has occurred. And I truly appreciate that. And I think it's going to be easier for all the trustees to understand what we're facing with in these, as I say, unusual times. So to be where we're standing financially, I think that's a testament to the mayor's vision and making sure our department heads as well are working with her as they, put together, and also working with you and, Mr. Hood and Mr. Hicks, working with you guys just to make sure that they stay, fiscally responsible. So giving them ownership of their departments and controlling their expenses and income coming in. So, great team effort. I'm very happy with it. I don't have any other questions. That general comment of where we're at, I think you guys did a great job, and to the department heads really stepped up in these trying times. I mean, Trustee Tierney, what do you think about it? I'm good with it to present it to our board. So comments by you, Trustee Tierney?
No, looking at the numbers, I like where they are. Obviously they could be better, but we're in a better position than we thought. So good job, guys. I appreciate it.
Okay. At this time, I have nothing else to bring up. Do we want to take any public comments now, or because obviously,
Madam Chair, if you don't mind, would you acknowledge your other committee member, Trustee Andrea Senior, who is on the line, please?
oh, I'm sorry. I wasn't aware of that. I'm sorry. Welcome, Trustee Andrea Senior. Obviously, do you have any questions or comments that you'd like to chime in on this? Because I definitely want to make sure our Finance Committee, because, definitely I'd like to make a recommendation, so that's why I want to make sure that we're all on the same page. Any comments or questions?
I believe trustee is on mute.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's.
Yeah,
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Okay, so I know I was a little late joining the meeting, I'm sorry. And I did get a chance to review the packet. It was very well put together, and it's very self-explanatory. I was able to understand it and connect the dots on it. Other than that, like I don't have any questions or anything like that. So yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you, trustee Senior. At this time, attendees, the panel has entertained their questions and the board responses. If you wish to ask a question, kindly raise your hand so that we can recognize you and you will be acknowledged in the order of your request. Any questions from the attendees? Madam Chair, it's your floor.
Thank you.
Um,
You got anything, trustee Abraham?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, okay. So first of all, I want to say good evening and happy holidays to everybody that's attending this virtual meeting. It is a different type of meeting, and this is the first time we've done it in this platform. So it looked like it went very well. I do want to commend the department heads because without their support and their leadership, for us to even entertain the tax levies or the amended budget that we will be presenting to the Board of Trustees, this would have been a very difficult task in these unprecedented times. So I want to piggyback off the tax levy because I'm real big on making sure that the community is informed and educated and they get all of their questions answered as it relates to how we govern our finances in the Village of Broadview. And when I first started in this administration, we had a clear understanding that we would operate in transparency. And that's what we will continue to do for the years to come. So when we look at the tax levy and what we levy for, we have a bare bone budget. We only operate on what we can afford. We have a big wish list, but we only can go after what we know we can afford, and that won't put us in a great debt. So when you look at our corporate, that's our general funding base, and that's where we have the extra stuff to operate. Then when we go to fire and police, pension, and this is no doing of the fire department or the police department, but this goes back to at least 25 to 30 years of not paying into the pension fund. And when you look at the actuaries from the pension and fire, they make a recommendation to us on what we should be levying so that we can stay abreast to get to the 2049 year to be all caught up with pension plans. So just think hypothetically, if the leadership back in 25, 30 years ago would have been paying into this and not robbing Peter to pay Paul, we wouldn't be having these big pension payments. Our pension payments probably would be close to $400,000 for fire and police. But that's not the situation that we're in, and we rely on the tax dollars to pay our fire and pension plans. And one thing that I've always stood on the principle is that we have to take care of our public safety. And that's fire, police, and public works. They make this village run efficient. And without them, and if they don't have our support, we don't have the team that we need to do what we have to do to take care of the constituents and our business partners within the Village of Broadview. So when you look at the tax levy, you got to break out the different things that comes with that tax levy. And it's all, and I always say this, the crown is heavy because we get the most pushback from residents as it relates to how we look at budgets, how we look at tax levies, but no one go to the park district and hold them accountable to the same standards that you expect the village to do. They have to levy tax dollars. The school board have to levy tax dollars. The public library have to levy tax dollars, and that's still all of our tax dollars. So when we talk about accountability, we hold everybody accountable, just not the village board. But we have the most responsibility out of the boards and the demands are great. So whatever questions or comments you have, we're very transparent. We're open with our dialogue. We don't have any secrets and we manage with experts. Our finance director, Tim Hicks, he's a CPA. He is well-informed, engaged on municipal governance as it relates to the finance department. He has brought some great details to this as it relates to putting policies in place that make us operate efficiently in the finance department. And then our budget officer, Tom Hood, he's been with the village for the last at least 12 years that I know of. And so he has some background information that we rely heavily on him as we look at how we look at our TIF funding, how we look at our operations, and how we look at tax levy. So we rely heavily on both of those two fellas to make sure that we go around. And when we put out the statement that we had a balanced budget, when we made the budget announcement and we was moving forward, I was very confident with that statement because that allowed us to look at the overall budget and all of the different funds that we're responsible for. It's the general fund that had the deficit in it. But we knew right at that moment we were entering into a pandemic. And I didn't want to panic, but I did put some controls in place. So our primary focus was employees. We didn't want to have layoff in any department because that could have been detrimental to us. We looked at our employee health care benefits. We looked at fire and police pensions and all of the salaries that take care of the folks that work here in the Village of Broadview. And I made a commitment that every 90 days, we will monitor where we are with our spending. And that's what we did when we passed that budget back in May. We've been monitoring our budget every 90 days as a finance department and with our department heads. And I have to commend the department heads because they have not been spending money that we have put in the budget to do other things. So when we look at the budget, we look at the different line items as it relates to the budget and where we can make cuts. And when we revisited to incorporate the revenues that we've been getting over the last 90 days up until this point, it makes sense that each department head met with the finance team and they go line by line on what they can take out, where they can cut at to get us to the next budget item, the next budget year. And we will address that at that time. So we did our fiduciary duty to make sure that we were responsible and transparent with this fiscal budget. We knew we was coming up to do a budget amendment. That had already been stated in previous board meetings. But I'm happy to say, like Trustee Tierney said, where we are, we 200 in the surplus in our general fund. It ain't where we want to be, but it ain't in the deficit in the general fund. And we will continue to monitor our budget every 90 days, probably for the next 24 months, because we're not clear out of the pandemic. And with that is coming all of the uncertainties that we're still learning about this. So we just ask that the residents, support us. They ask questions about it. They get engaged as it relates to the pandemic and the impact that it could have in the future. And we just move forward by working together. And that's why we use the slogan Broadview Strong, because we're strong when we work together. We're strong when we can compromise. And that shows strength in our community. And I just truly believe and sincerely believe that we are a strong community in the Proviso Township because we operate in integrity and in transparency. And that's from the finance department to the fire department to the police department to administration. All of the departments, we operate in transparency, and that is where I am with the finance department. I want to give kudos to the finance team because I know it's been challenging for you all not having regular finance committee meetings because typically we will host finance committees every month. But in the pandemic, we really didn't have any information to give to the residents. So that's why we were, making it to where we can give you a presentation where you can digest, you can ask questions about the budget and where we are, but we just didn't have the information to give to you prior to tonight. And I feel real comfortable with us doing it the way that we did it. It was the best professional way to do something like this at this level. So thank you. I just want to wish everybody happy holidays. We got some great events that's going to be coming up. Because of the pandemic, we got to do things a little bit different, but we will be hosting our Operation Santa event on December 13th, as well as hosting the same evening parade throughout the Village of Broadview, just to put the residents in the holiday spirit and let them know that we have not forgotten about those that's in need in our community, and to put a smile on the kids' face here in the fire and police parade through town to show that we love you and we haven't forgotten about you. And then on December 19th, we partner with Lindop School, Black Men United, and Justice Troopers. We're going to be doing a drive-up toy drive at Lindop School to give kids in the community that want to come and get some toys or some other items that's going to be given away. And that's all I have until we meet again at our next board meeting. But I want to just thank the finance chair and the finance committee for doing an awesome job and working with the finance team it's been truly a humbling experience, and most certainly is different for me because I've never been in a pandemic and I've never been in a situation where we had to amend the budget to do some things. And last but not least, we have an awesome clerk who stepped right up to the plate to make sure that we can have this virtual meeting, and it went very well. So thank you, Mr. Clerk, for your support, and good night. And we'll see you on Monday. Have a safe holiday. Make sure you mask up, step back, and do social distance. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, can you hear me, Madam Mayor?
Yes.
I do want to thank you for joining the meeting and bringing your comments to the public here. I truly appreciate that. I want to thank our Director Hicks, our Budget Officer, Mr. Hood, for joining the meeting and presenting this well laid out documents that they've presented to us. I like to thank my trustees, fellow trustees on the Finance Committee as well for joining and being part of this as we move the village forward. My understanding, there's been no public comments, correct? So before we adjourn, I just want to get a census from my fellow trustees on the Finance Committee about making this a potential recommendation for our next village board meeting. Trustee Tierney, any comments on that? Can we go ahead and move forward with this?
I think we should. Yep,
Okay.
I'm for it.
So you're good with it.
Yeah.
Trustee Andrea, what are your thoughts on it as well? Is this something we definitely
Absolutely.
want? So we're good? We can
Yes,
bring this in front of our
absolutely.
fellow board members? All right, perfect. Good to
Yes.
see you now. Yes.
Yes.
Other than that, I feel it was very well laid out, very well presented. So,
Madam Chair, can I make a final comment before you
sure,
adjourn?
sure.
So I do want to bring to the attention that with the Zoom meeting, we had no questions or comments that came up. Is that correct, Mr. Clerk? So
Okay.
there was no public comment from any of the trustees that sit on the board that had a comment or a question as it relates to this report. But we'll hopefully be able to entertain any concerns that they have on Monday. So we just wanted to acknowledge that they were not a part of the attendees to participate in this meeting.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So, and again, I want to thank the, for us to be able to have this Zoom meeting. I know it's a first for a lot of things. And obviously, this is something we've always traditionally done once a month prior to COVID, and to have it now. And I definitely would like to continue it. However, based on all the circumstances and being safety first, we totally understand. So again, thank you, Mayor, for being part of this. Thank you to everybody that attended. I want to wish everyone a good night. And if we can call for an adjournment, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion
Motion
to
to adjourn.
second.
Okay, motion by Trustee Tierney, seconded by Trustee Senior. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, meeting is adjourned. I want to thank everyone for attending. Have everybody please be safe and have a good evening.
All right.